So today we're going to be making a video on introductions to array and objects. So let's get started. So what are array? Array are lists used to store multiple items in a single variable. So we'll get an example for it. For example, imagine a grocery list where each item is stored in order. That's called arrays. So what are objects? So objects are collections of key values paired like a dictionary in real life. Each key is like a word and its value is the definition. So those are objects. So let's get right into the HTML code, and then we're going to be writing our JavaScript. So I'll give you a basic understanding of what we're making. We want to be making a web page inside. We're going to be adding, it's going to be a box inside. We're going to be writing data inside, like we'll just say pizza. So we'll say pizza inside, and we're gonna add it. We're gonna add the button, and it's gonna be on the web page. It's gonna be displayed on the web page, and everything is gonna be happening accordingly. I'll just go right into the code, and I know what you're gonna be understanding when you're gonna be looking at it. Then you're gonna be totally understanding what I totally mean. So let's go into the boilerplate. We're gonna be adding the boilerplate, which is, oh yeah. First of all, we gotta I forgot this. We gotta save our file as, go in a folder, and over here I'll just save it as index.html. That's gonna be our web page. There was already, so I just saved it. So this is our web page. Our HTML code is gonna be saved as index.html, and our JavaScript code we're gonna save as, we didn't write JavaScript right now, but we'll save it as script.js. So we saved it as script.js. It already told, okay, it's saved as script.js, and this is of HTML. So we wrote HTML. So now we're going to be adding our boilerplate inside. We're going to be pressing enter key, which is going to be allowing us to make the boilerplate. Inside the title, we're going to be changing the title as array and objects example. So we'll just be writing that this is our example. Inside the body tag, we're going to be writing a h1. First of all, we'll just make an h1 header one, and inside that we'll say task manager. So that's our heading one. So after that, we're going to be making an input type. It's really simple. Input type, and we're going to say text ID placeholder enter task. It's so simple. We're gonna say enter a task. So we're just gonna be writing the input type, and inside the input type we're gonna be saying, okay, we want to input text inside, and we're gonna be making an ID. ID is gonna be task input. We're gonna be writing task input inside, and then we're gonna be making a placeholder inside. We're gonna be writing enter a task. So we could enter our task accordingly. So now let's make the button, and we're gonna say button on click, and then we're gonna be saying add tasks. Whenever we're gonna click it, it's gonna add a task. And what is it? The button gonna be written as? The button's gonna be add task, so we could know accordingly. After that, we'll just make an h2 inside, and we're gonna say task list, so we could know that this is our task list. This is going to be written in an h2. After that, we're going to be adding a ul, and inside we're going to be saying id, and we're going to say id task list, so we can know that we're going to be bringing an unordered list inside, because we're not going to do an ordered list. We're not going to do an OL. We're going to do an UL, which is unordered list, and we want to be listing down our tasks inside. So after this, I'll just go to the next line. So over here, now the next thing is we just close our body tag, body and HTML tag accordingly. But the thing what we could do, we don't want to be adding the script over here. We're going to be adding on a different web page. So the last thing what I could do, I could write a script tag, and we could just say we're going to associate it. We're going to say source, and what is it going to be? We could just change the name over here. What's our, you could see it over here. It's saved as script.js. We'll write script.js, and we're gonna save it accordingly. We're gonna save this, and now if you say like, what's gonna be on the web page. I'll zoom a little inside so you could be viewing your code accordingly. You want to view that right now. What have we created? We'll reveal in File Explorer. We'll go and we see that this is our task manager. Enter a task. We're gonna enter a task, add button, and then the task list, all of the list is gonna be coming accordingly. This is an example of array in objects. Right now, if I write one, I write whatever I want, it's not gonna add. Why? We didn't add our JavaScript right now. When we're gonna be adding our JavaScript, then it's gonna be adding accordingly. So let's go back in our Visual Code Studio, and inside we're gonna go in our JavaScript, and now we're gonna be writing the JavaScript code. So we're gonna say let tasks equal to, and over here we're gonna be opening these brackets accordingly. We're gonna say let task. We're gonna let the task be enclosed in the brackets. So after that, we'll add a function. Function is gonna be add tasks. Then we're gonna be adding constants. Task input. We're gonna be task input, then get element and task. Everything is gonna be written so simple. And then over here at the end, we didn't only write task, we wrote task input. I think if you remember before that, we wrote task input over here, like task input. So that's what we have to do. The same thing over here. We're gonna write task input, or we could just do one more thing. If you wanna just keep this as task, you could go over here, just leave this as task. So whatever you're gonna be writing over here, because it's gonna tell that okay, the input type, it has to, it has to go in the input type and it has to remember that okay, this is a task. So that's what we're gonna do. We wrote the input, then we closed our bracket accordingly. So we'll go down below that. After that, we'll add another constant, and over here we're gonna say task input value. We're gonna import the value over here accordingly. So after that, we're gonna be writing an if statement. If the task push, if we enter a task input value is equal to, and it's gonna be writing, whenever we're gonna be writing a task and we're gonna push the button, it's gonna be written in inverted brackets. Well, I'm gonna show you how it's gonna happen accordingly. And we could add another thing over here. We're gonna say display the task. So it could display the task accordingly. Display tasks, and we could open the bracket. So it's gonna display the task accordingly. We could close another bracket over here. Yeah, we could close another bracket over here. So I'll just go one more down, and I could just add the function display task. It's gonna be the same things, but I'll just write it down for you. I could just explain everything. So we're gonna be writing function display tasks. We're gonna be opening the bracket accordingly. And then after that, we'll open a bracket, and inside that we're going to be adding constant, and we're going to be writing task list, and we're going to be adding a equal to sign, and then we're going to be associating it like document. I'll move my over here. Document dot get element by ID, element by ID, and inside the bracket we're going to be writing task list. So we could do that accordingly. So when we're going to go on the next line, we're going to be saying task list inner HTML, and we're going to be writing that in inverted brackets. So after that, we could add our all things. We could add the we add task map. Then we could write task index. Then we're going to write equal to less than. I hope you got that thing. It's a function, and the function works like that. So whenever we're going to be writing data inside, whenever we're gonna giving an input and we're going to be clicking the button, it's going to be understanding, okay, he's trying to display this on the web page accordingly. So now we're going to be adding a constant, and we're going to be saying list item. The list items what we're using. List item equal document create element. Whenever we're gonna be adding a list item, it's gonna be create in the document accordingly. So now we could list item another thing, and we're gonna say inner HTML. We could do that too, but what I would like to use I'm gonna use a list item, and inside I'm gonna write text content. Now I'm not gonna be writing inner HTML. One second. Task, map, task, index. Before that I use inner HTML, but so I'm not gonna use it below over here. I already used it once. I'll remove the code. I'll remove this from here, and I'll write text content. I'll write text content. I'll just give a space over here. Text content. I'll write text content over here. I think it's text content is gonna be written without any spaces. Yeah. So we're gonna be writing the text content inside here. So then after that, we're gonna be adding a constant, another constant, in which we're gonna be writing a delete button. Delete button, the reason why I'm going to be writing a delete button is like whenever you're going to be adding something and you want to remove it anytime, so you could remove it accordingly. It's not going to be that big of a mess, it's not going to be that big of a problem. You could just remove it accordingly. So we could go down in our button and we're going to be saying, okay, if we want to delete something, we could delete it accordingly. So after that, we could add the delete function. Then we're going to say delete button dot text content is equal to delete. So after that, we could just say the delete button on click. Whenever we're gonna click it, then it's gonna happen accordingly in the index. Then we could say the list items on append child delete button. Whenever we're gonna click on the delete button, it's gonna remove accordingly. So then we're gonna add the task list, append child list items. We're gonna be doing that. And then at the end, we had some brackets to close. We're gonna be closing one bracket of this and one round bracket. One round bracket, and there is one semicolon remaining. So these are all of our things. And now this display task, I think it's going to be written like this, display task, and there's not going to be any of a problem inside. I'll save this. I'll save my HTML code too. Now let's go back and we'll say reveal in file explorer, and we'll go over here. Now I'll refresh this one page so we can make sure, and inside I'll just say pizza. I'm really sorry, we forgot one last function. Was the reason I was like really worried. I was like checking out the code. I was like checking out everything. That what was the problem? So the problem was we didn't write this function, the delete task index, and we're gonna say task split index 1, and we're gonna display the task accordingly. So now I saved both of the codes accordingly. Now let's go reveal the code in File Explorer. Let's open in File Explorer. Now let's just say pizza. Yeah, now we're gonna say burger. I could say it's a list of all item: burger, fries, Dr. Pepper. We could add all of our task list accordingly, and now we could delete any of, like I want to delete burger, I could click on the delete button and I'll delete every single whatever I'm gonna click. This is how we make a task manager, and we enter a button, and with the task list we could always delete them, we could always write them again. We could just say burger anytime, and whenever we're gonna we want to add numbers, we could add whatever we want. It's just gonna be adding in the list accordingly. It's just always gonna be going down, always gonna be going down. We could, whenever we want to delete, we just start clicking on delete button, everything's going to delete accordingly. So now let's go and let me explain about the JavaScript. Why did we use those functions? So I'll go a little zoom out. And now over here, now I'll tell you why the array, these array tasks, this is the first array task. Why did we use this? We used this function, this first function where you see why did we use this, if you want to know the basic understanding of it. So this stores all tasks entered by the user. Whenever we're going to be storing a task inside, this is the function, main function, which stores all the tasks where the user is going to enter. This is the add task whenever we're gonna add something. So this adds a new task to the array and clears the input field. This is the adding task. What is this task over here? This is a display task. This one where you see this is a delete task. On above this is a display task. This one, you see, this is a display task. What does this display task do? loops through the task array using maps to create list items. Remember we used maps inside over here. You see this task maps, this one maps. This helps us to loop through the task. It loops and it keeps on making a loop inside. So this delete task, this last one where you see this delete task, this delete task. Why do we use this delete task? Delete task removes a task from the array using splice. If we want to remove any single thing, we use a splice to add those new tags, whatever we want to do. Like you can see over here, adding a task over here is added through splice, and this helps us to add a tag to splice, and we could delete it accordingly. So I hope you understood everything accordingly, and it was really simple, and you got a lot much to learn with it. I would always suggest you to practice every time. Practice makes a man perfect. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next videos. There are like 3 more videos for this session, for this series, JavaScript, and after that there's going to be a banger video in which I'm going to be writing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's going to be a crash course. I hope you're going to learn a lot from that. So stay tuned till then. Bye.